So first, Matt Finnick serves as the president and CEO of business operations for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. A graduate of McGill University, he joined the Tiger Cats organization in 2010 as vice president, stadium development. He was a member of the executive team that represented the club in the site verification and stadium design phase for the development of Tim Hortons Field. Jeff Atkinson, formerly the Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Green Salary Racing Promotions, which is the organizer of Honda Indy Toronto. Jeff Atkinson was promoted to the president of Honda Indy Toronto in 2015. He went to Brock University, the sport management program, and he's built up a great reputation within the auto racing industry. Kanesia Sholdra is the director of ticketing for the Toronto Rock. She's held that position since 2015. A graduate of Brock University, she spent 7 years in sales positions with the Toronto Argonauts prior to joining the Toronto Rock. And lastly, we also have John Duff from MLSE, who is manager of sales. And Tom Anselmi is the manager, born and raised here in Toronto. He received an engineering degree from the University of Saskatchewan after graduating from Ryerson University. He was a member of the MLSE executive team from 96 until 2013. You may have remembered him from the Ottawa Senators and the time he spent there. So it's selling tickets in a crowded marketplace. I'll hand it off to Tom.
Thank you, Caroline. Good to see you again. Berkey, Trevor, Patrice, thanks for having us here again today, and your leadership in putting this event on, because it's an important part of our industry and moving the industry forward. So you guys should be applauded for doing that. I know we're getting the end of the show here. Let's get going here. First of all, our topic today is about selling tickets in a crowded marketplace. The landscape has changed a lot. Competition for the discretionary dollar has never been more fierce. The relationship with our fans and the demands they have on us has never been more intense or more intimate. Expectations for performance on and off the field has never been higher. Social media has changed our lives, and information about our players and our product is more accessible and more influential and more immediate. And it all means that controlling our brand and controlling our message is just different. And it's both better, it's worse, it's a little of everything. So it's a changing marketplace, and we're going to jump right off there with Matt, and just tell us what that all means to you, Matt. What's the world about for you guys now?
Well, first and foremost, kudos to those in the room. This is, I'm sure you've heard and seen and heard a lot over the last couple of days. Selling tickets is hands down the best part of the sports business. So kudos for you for sticking it out. Yeah, Tom nailed it. All of those variables have a daily, weekly, monthly, annual impact on how we approach our customers and how we ultimately sell tickets. I'd even add further to that, one thing that didn't come up on the list is just the expanding value proposition of watching at home and how good it is to watch at home, the choice, your ability to save money, save time. Often people think about buying stuff only in the currency of money. It's our experience that time has become equally significant to dollars in terms of how people make those discretionary purchasing decisions. Listen, at the end of the day, though, I think selling tickets in the modern marketplace is the same as it's been, which is about creating great value for your customer, right? Value is a fluid thing. It changes often. It can change within a season. It can certainly and does change through an off season. But at the end of the day, it's about creating value for your customer. And every single one, every segment, every type of customer, every type of fan is going to be different. So being responsive to their needs is really, I think, the only thing that you can do to effectively cut through given the challenges of the modern kind of marketplace in terms of trying to sell people tickets.
Jeff, same question. What's your world all about nowadays?
Well, for us, Toronto's a very competitive market. You look at Toronto, you have Broadway, you have all the major sport teams, but you also have festivals, and you really just have to separate what you are, what your product is. And I know we believe a lot in our product with the Honda Indy Toronto, and for us it's about getting people down for the very first time. So we've looked at new creative ways to get people down, to eliminate the barriers of entry. We have a Fan Friday, which the Ontario Honda dealers put on in support of Make-A-Wish, and that program since 2010 has raised over $690,000. So that gets people in the door for the first time, and then hopefully they come for the rest of the weekend. And we look to do other strategic things as we grow our festival. Obviously, the sport is the main attraction, but as we grow the festival, we got a free day on the Friday. Well, let's make it free for kids 12 and under for the rest of the weekend, so families can now afford to come. So it's kind of that value proposition. We know, like I said, we are a sporting event, but how do we attract people to the activations, the other things that are happening in and around our festival?
John, when I was at Maple Leaf Sports, we used to say it was a cluttered marketplace, and we're the clutter. You're the big beast here in the multi-sport properties, the multi-sport organization. I mean, how are you guys looking at the world now?
Yeah, I think the couple of key things you touched on, Tom. It's a pretty loaded question, but I think the passion that our fans have is something that we want to always capitalize on. With that passion, though, comes huge expectations. So that's expectations on the team performance, but it's also expectations on the experience that they're going to have when they come down to one of our venues. So I think you made a great point as well, Matt. It's not just dollars that we're competing for anymore. I think more importantly, it's time. And whether that's time with family, time with friends, time with clients, there's a lot on the line for us to keep people engaged and to make sure that they have a great experience. So the one line that, some of you in the room may have heard this, but certainly in our business, the one we talk about a lot is we don't sell tickets, we sell experiences. So that really for us is what kind of keeps us focused and motivated. And that really starts on the first phone call when we're trying to sell someone. And that carries on when we're actually executing at an event. So there's a lot on the line throughout that process. At the end of the day, it's changing quickly. So I think it's on us. It's forced us to work harder, to work smarter, and to really evolve the way that we do our business.
Tanisha, you came up through the ticket sales world in the industry. How does it apply to your organization?
Yeah, I mean, I've always referred to the GTA as kind of the gift and the curse all packaged into one. I mean, it's a gift in the sense that you've got, a ton of people, a ton of resources, businesses that you can go after and you can sell to, and it's the curse because you've got 9 million other people trying to do the exact same thing that you're trying to do, right? So it's the strategy has changed, but at the same time, it's remained the same, and that is that customer service and selling that experience, and similar to Jeff with the Indy. I mean, we're always looking at new ways to engage people, and engaging fans might not always be the game itself, but it might be something else that's happening at the game that initially gets you into the building, and then once we've got you, our theory is, and my philosophy is that then we've created a fan for life, because once you've been once, you're definitely coming back because you're going to have such a phenomenal time. So again, it might be your kids performing the anthem, or you're attending a poker tournament, let's say, before the game. Maybe that's what initially gets you, but once you've come, you're going to be back.
Jeff, I'm going to come back to you. You're kind of the unique guy here in that you've got an event for one weekend of the year. How do you deal with that, and how is that different than selling multiple events, season tickets?
It's very unique, and I think one of the panels earlier, I forget which one it was, they talked about winning and losing being marketing, and we don't necessarily have a winning outcome all the time. We have 1 week in a year to really capitalize on our event in the city, and ultimately for us, it comes down to how we market the event, how we promote the event, and we have our most loyal fans. We cater to those fans differently than we cater the people we market to closer to the event. So ultimately, we have two different marketing strategies. And with that, having just 3 days, let's say we're in a stick and ball sport, the stick and ball sport may have something come up in a game prior. They can fix it the next game. We cannot fix it. So we have to make sure all our checks and balances are in place. We need to make sure that we have a strategy that is going to carry us through not only the upcoming year, but the following years. And as an event, we've really taken a step back and identified, how will the event be sustainable for the next 5 years? And for us, it's about building with families. It's memory builders. We've created new programs like our Rookie Racers, who get children 12 and under more involved with the event. It's the fan experience we all covet and we all expect that our events will deliver. And ultimately, for us, it's the total package. And that's the event that really brings everything together, from your Champions Club with your most loyal fans to your general admission, your festival goers, and then obviously your Rookie Racers and your children.
Matt, I'm hearing a lot about what the Ticats are doing to sort of harness this industry trend of out-of-seat viewing, social viewing, that kind of thing. Talk about that. Talk about your venue, and is it both sports, soccer and football, or just tell us about it.
Yeah. So philosophically, as an organization, we believe you're in a day and age where you can't really dictate to people how they want to choose to experience something, and having as wide-ranging an offering when people come into the venue, we thought was very important. So backing up 5 years ago now, when we were designing what is now Tim Hortons Field, we were fortunate to play a role to create properties that at that time were a little bit new to the market, but have now over time paid off and worked out quite well. Things like having no seats in the end zone, where Tim Hortons Field is the only facility in Canada where you can actually see the field of play from 360 degrees around. There's no walls in the concourse. So what that has created is this great spirit of I've heard it called the traveling fan, social viewing, standing, you name it. If you come to an event, you come to a game, at any given time, there's over 4,000 people out of their seats standing, watching the game, rather than being confined to the seat. And when you dig deeper on those demos, they're often younger people. They're certainly less engaged with the 2nd and 6 play call as they are about the social, being at a live event, being out with their friends. And having that opportunity is partially a function of great stadium design, and our architects were phenomenal. But programming becomes a big part of that. So within, we've worked with a lot of our corporate partners to build out everything from, we have the largest outdoor bar in North America. It's 120 feet long around in one of our end zones, to we have a 2,500 square foot playground for kids to go up and play for free. So adding, I alluded earlier to the importance of value proposition. I think for us, ours will always be about being affordable and accessible, but also providing value beyond the ticket that you actually purchase. So all of those things coming together, and again, it comes back to, I think, my first point about the impact and quality of just being able to watch at home and the experience of watching at home. And the one thing you can't replicate at home is kind of that sense of energy, passion, emotion of being there live. So when you couple all those things together, we think that's one of our great strategic advantages for football and for the launch of our CPL soccer team next year in 2019.
I was telling Kanisha a story about 1996. I had a chance to invest in the Toronto Rock before they were launching. I think it was about $5,000 for like 10% of the team or something. It was nothing. It was one of the stupidest things I never did. 2 years later, they were doing double the beer sales the Leafs were doing at Maple Leaf Gardens. So anyways, missed that one. But you're selling not one of the top 4 or 5 sports, one of the big 4 or 5, yep. A niche sport. Talk to us about the challenges of that, especially in a big market like this when you're competing with these guys.
For sure, it's tough because lacrosse is Canada's national summer sport. Lacrosse has a deep entrenched history in Canada. Obviously, was formulated in Canada by the Indigenous people. So it's but again, even though it's one of the fastest growing sports in North America, it's our brand, and the sport isn't as well known. A lot of people don't know the rules or how the game is played. So for us, it's not just selling an experience, but it's also educating too, right? So, when our sales guys are making calls, a lot of the times, unfortunately, it's who's the Toronto Rock again, and so it's teaching and educating, the greater market about who we are and what we do. And so when we're selling our tickets and we're marketing and promoting our games, we're not just advertising a $21 ticket. It's hey, it's a $21 ticket, and here's what you're going to experience while you're there, so that we're keeping the sport front of mind, so that again, as the sport grows and the brand awareness grows, that hopefully that will obviously result in our attendance growing as well. And again, to reiterate what I said earlier, it's because the sport isn't as popular as some of the bigger sports in the GTA. We're selling those experiences. Again, it's you're coming down and playing at a prestigious venue like the Scotiabank Arena for us is a huge perk, because again, we're very affordable. So getting people to come down, and we play up on the fact that, hey, no offense to the Leafs and Raptors, obviously, but hey, you might not be able to get a ticket to see them. So come see us. Feel the building, experience the building. Oh yeah, by the way, and we play lacrosse, but you're going to love the sport after it's all said and done, which again is an exciting opportunity for us to get to be the on the forefront of selling a sport that, like I said, it isn't as well known. So
awesome. So John, I'm a the classic thinking in sales is that compensation drives behavior and eat what you kill and all that sort of stuff. And Maple Leaf Sports a few years back went away from individual sales commissions, and you've got everybody now selling across all the properties and motivated by team goals, I think. So talk about how that works and how it motivates salespeople, and how do you deal with inconsistencies in performance between people?
Yeah, totally. This one's a fun one for me. When we still tell people at league meetings, regardless of what league we're talking about, it makes people's heads spin. They can't comprehend what would keep salespeople motivated when there isn't individual commissions. So I think there were two main reasons why we did it. One, to be more customer centric. So having one voice that can sell across all of our different properties has really enhanced that experience that you have with one of our sales reps. The other reason is internally. So for our sales culture, for our salespeople, the non-commission, the team-based bonuses has really fostered a really collaborative approach. So you'll see people motivated to go on a meeting with multiple people from the team, and I think we've seen a lot of efficiencies and a lot of deals have come through that, whether it's within ticketing or whether it's in partnerships across the organization. That collaborative culture is really fostered by that. The one challenge, probably the biggest challenge, is keeping those top performers motivated. So we had to kind of rethink what that structure looked like for us. A big piece and a big component of it is recognition. So I think that's peer-to-peer recognition, that's recognition from executives. So we would really try and pump that up as one of the main levers of what's going to keep a top performer around. There are some sales programs that we'll do throughout the year to try and again push people a little bit further. But the recognition to me is the biggest piece that's keeping our team motivated. So
even if you've got one guy that's working harder and delivering more versus a guy that's not working as hard and delivering less, like how do you deal with that?
It's certainly a challenge. I mean, we have to have tough conversations, definitely with the people that are not performing well. I think anyone up here would agree with me. They're never fun conversations, but we measure everything. That's sales results, but equally as important, that's hustle metrics. So that's pace, that's calls, that's emails, that's face-to-face interactions, and that tells a big part of the story, I think, when you're trying to examine someone's performance. But no doubt, it makes it more challenging. We've had to exit some people that weren't pulling their weight, but for the most part, I think we've done a pretty good job in hiring, so we haven't had many of those issues yet, thankfully.
And you're thinking all of this is resulting in better total sales, or better culture, or both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we've probably uncovered more deals because of that collaborative environment and because we have that kind of one team mentality. But I mean, no way to know for certain, but I think personally the blend of culture, which is the kind of the biggest part for me, but then also seeing the results of some of the deals that have come through that I don't think, at least I've been on both sides of it. I was a sales rep in the commission environment, and I think we're seeing things now that we didn't see before.
Jeff, I used to, in fact, be on the board of the Molson Indy back when it was Molson's property. Fascinated by your business. So you might have talked about this earlier, like it's a once a year thing, but you also have to build your venue every year. And these guys were all talking about their home and selling the home and the experience at home, and you have to build your venue, and people only see it once a year. Like explain the difference in how that works psychologically with your fan and the relationship and in how you motivate their behavior.
Well, we talked about some of the challenges with the event, obviously only having the 1 week in a year, but it's also an opportunity in a sense where we can listen to real-time feedback. After the event ends on the Sunday, we send out our customer surveys, we get the feedback, and we can make those adjustments. If you've got an arena or a football stadium, you have to wait some time before you make a costly renovation. We can make that renovation going into the next year. So we can move grandstands. If someone's unhappy with their sight lines, by 5 feet, we can shift that grandstand potentially by 5 feet. We can add all these new areas, back to the children thing. One of the areas we're looking at this year is kind of a daycare component. We talked about the kids' playground with Matt's comments. Those are things that are on trend. So you really start with a blank slate every year with the event. And for us and our team, it's a real creative way to get everyone excited to work towards the upcoming or the next July. And back to what was said about commissions and all that, just a comment there. That's really where the industry is going. We took our team off of that some time ago, and we have seen better productivity from our team, both commercially as well as from a ticket sales standpoint, by working together. And I think working together is so important. As you listen to your fans and your customers' feedback, you are going to make waves in terms of making your event and property more successful.
Do you measure things like renewal rate, that kind of thing? Like these guys would all tell you that they have an 82% renewal rate. They know exactly all of that. They know their customer. Do you know their customer and as intimately in that industry?
Very, very much so. And I follow it very closely. So we have 4 properties that are IndyCar events in North America: St. Petersburg, Portland, Toronto, and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So we look at our 4 properties, how they're affected, and actually we try a lot of new initiatives here in Toronto because Toronto's very progressive. It's definitely on trend in a lot of areas, and as we attract obviously new fans to the event, we need to reward our most loyal consumer, and we've created new programs like what we call the Champions Club, which is something available to our customers when they purchase early on. We don't have season tickets because of the nature of our event, so we need to create programs that kind of emulate some of those key qualities a season ticket holder would receive at events. So with the Champions Club in St. Pete, for example, one thing we're doing unique is money can't buy experiences. They're going to be able to sit into the drivers meeting in St. Petersburg this year, the Champions Club members, and that's really a behind the scene component where they get to sit down with the referees and the athletes before they take the field. A real neat, cool experience. One thing we do here in Toronto is we allow those fans on Friday evening to sign the start-finish line. We give them a piece of ownership with the event. And giving that fan, that most loyal consumer that helps pay the bills, some piece of ownership to make them feel like they're part of the event or the festival, I think is just such a key to everyone's success.
Okay, I want to talk about premium products. I want to talk about the secondary market. We got a whole bunch of stuff to cover here. How much time we got, Joe?
We got 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Matt.
Yeah.
What are like the top 2 or 3 things that have changed in the industry in the last few years? And are they good? Are they bad? How are you exploiting them? How are you overcoming the challenge?
My answer would be technology, and it probably seems like a rather wide scope in that answer, but technology, I think, in the ticketing lens specifically, has made it infinitely better for the customer or the fan, and tremendously greater and harder for the property, because it's just so fluid how technology has changed ticketing. And you spoke about secondary markets, and if you look back to the ticket marketing place 2 or 3 years ago, there's 1 or 2 resellers. Like Google Toronto Rock tickets now, and these resellers have become so sophisticated in how good they are in their business that the average person, I don't believe, when they're going on these sites, because the #1 place that people buy tickets is Google. It's not your website, it's not your team's website, it's not Ticketmaster, it's Google. And the customer, the end customer, being in that buying environment, stadium maps look the same, seating charts look the same, everything looks the same, that you can make the argument the average customer doesn't actually even know where they're buying that ticket, unless they're paying close attention to the service fees they're paying. I think the point of the matter is that technology then breeds a requirement to look at how you market and sell your product differently. Like, I know for us in Hamilton, things like search engine optimization, things like that just weren't on our radar in our ticketing business 2 years ago, are requirements. And before we really started understanding this and frankly investing in it, you'd Google Hamilton Tiger Cat tickets and we'd be the 7th thing that would come up. So the challenge you have in that marketplace is oftentimes the reseller has better tickets at a better price than you as the property are trying to hold and sell. So again, technology, another implication is technology has fueled procrastination for customers, right? They have all sorts of marketplaces where they don't have to make buying decisions too far out because there's so many places where they can have access to those tickets. So I think, Tom, to answer your question, technology in all of its forms is something that, again, it's you need to be responsive to it daily, weekly, not monthly or annually, because it changes literally that quickly.
Okay, so talk about the secondary market then. Obviously, John, it affects you guys significantly. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Did you do a deal with StubHub and take their money? And talk about it.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit of both. I think it is a genuine challenge, but I think it is also an opportunity. I think it's such a double-edged sword. Because oftentimes we will market one of the biggest benefits of having a membership, which in our business is the bread and butter. One of the key benefits is your ability to resell tickets right from our platform to help alleviate those number of games and to help recoup costs. So it's by far, I think maybe even more so than playoff tickets at this point, is one of the key benefits why people buy memberships, and they're so important to us. But then for those last 500,000 tickets, I'm sitting there and we are competing now with our best customers who have better locations, they have better pricing, so it is a real challenge, but it's an opportunity as well. So again, we have our deal is with Ticketmaster. We're partnered with Ticketmaster, and our members have the ability to resell their tickets right from our platform.
At any price?
At any price.
And so I remember seeing a press release with Hoppy spouting off about how ticket prices were going to go up because you wanted to scoop the dough instead of letting the secondary market scoop the dough. And is that the strategy?
I think it is a big piece. I get into this argument with my friends all the time. I think when we talk about technology and how sophisticated commercial resellers have become, if we don't price our tickets appropriately, then what will happen is you'll have these sophisticated brokers come in, scoop up all the inventory, and then put them back online at an inflated price. So at the end of the day, I think most fans would agree they'd rather have the team with that delta as opposed to some commercial reseller who's putting the money directly in his pockets.
I wasn't being critical. In fact, I was going to ask you next, how did that get received? Because it's the right answer.
Yeah, totally. I think, again, it takes education. I don't think people necessarily, they don't fully understand how sophisticated they are, and I'm sure some of the people up here can speak to it. The onus is on us to make sure we are priced appropriately so that we are able to take that money and reinvest it in the team, reinvest it in the venues, as opposed to, again, it just going in someone's pocket. But I think we're still learning. It's such a quickly evolving, there's such a fast pace to how the market has changed. So no doubt it has been probably the hottest topic for us the last couple of years as well.
Can I just jump in on that? Because it's often looked at only at the top of the market, right? The reality is the overwhelming majority of properties, teams, and leagues don't operate like the Leafs or even the Raptors in these days. That to be objective in the analysis of the impact of these secondary markets, you got to also look at the bottom of the market, right? Because there's games, there's dates, there's opponents where you struggle to sell through your inventory. So if you're going to talk about it objectively, you can't talk it both sides of your mouth, because there are instances where it helps you, right? By having that inventory moved, purchased on a season basis and resold. They do provide great value in that regard as well. So it's not just about the top of the market and who's capturing the upside. It's also the bottom of the market and the ability to sell through on that inventory. And as a property, have the money kind of in your pocket.
Well, there's teams out there that are being undercut by the secondary market. So you've got your lowest posted price, and then you're competing with a secondary market that does a real good job with their interface and how they talk to the customer and all that kind of stuff. And they're selling your ticket lower than you can sell it. So that's where the other side of the argument is a tough one. How does it apply for you guys, Kanisha? Same thing?
It's funny because for us, I think that Toronto sports in general, a lot of people go to those secondary markets because they anticipate that every sporting event is sold out, right? And because we play at a Scotiabank Arena, again, it's most of the events that are there are usually sold out. The Leafs, the Raptors, the concerts, everything. So oddly enough, it's we average 10, 12,000 a game, but on game days, it always is mind blowing to me how many calls the reps get or how many emails we get saying, hey, there's still tickets to tonight's game, because that perception is that it is sold out. So for us, there's people going to those secondary markets looking for the tickets. The tickets aren't necessarily always there because we're not in a position, although we will be one day very soon, where our season ticket holders are reselling their tickets. So again, we do have a small splattering on StubHub and some other secondary markets, but again, it's us doing our due diligence in our marketing and our promotions to make sure that people know tickets are still available, and they are still available, through the regular accessible channels like Ticketmaster and whatnot, and also investing in, the Google machine and everything else to make sure that we are at the top of that search engine when people are looking at ways to buy. Because same thing, Matt alluded to it, is that a couple years ago we wouldn't even have, again, we were same thing, 7th, 8th, 9th on the list. When you Google Toronto Rock tickets, obviously we got to be number one, or else we're doing our fans a disservice. So
just to add to that, I think it's a great point you make. There's that assumption that even with the Leafs or Raptors TFC,
right, that
tickets are sold out, but oftentimes on day of game we have hundreds of tickets that are released that we have to hold for CBA. So that's a really tough thing to battle. That awareness is a big piece for us in selling out those last couple hundred tickets.
And you guys, I think Jeff can probably comment on this, and yours is just a weekend, but being in an arena sport, you don't have to deal with weather. I think that's another element that we've really not going to be burned on, but the impact of weather in an environment where you can watch on a 60-inch plasma TV, it's profound, and you see that on Ticketmaster Exchange, you see that on StubHub on day of a game. It's crazy to watch the trend even 3 days out. If the weather forecast is bad, then it proliferates on those secondary sites that people try to move their tickets.
Jeff, I'm not going to presume to think about how it impacts you. You've got this one shot at the lottery, and talk about the secondary market. Is it a good thing for you? Does it help you, or is it a challenge?
It's very interesting. Now, we've experimented with it a lot of capacities. We talked about search engine optimization. We've relaunched our web pages this year, but before that, we were spending a lot of time with that, because if you can optimize yourself first, you're going to save some money, believe it or not. You're going to eliminate those click-throughs on Google that you're paying per click, and ultimately you shouldn't be wasting money just because you're paying to promote yourself over the link that's your website. But years ago, when the secondary market started to get into place, we started to see a shift from how people obviously get to our webpage. No longer is people typing in HondaIndy.com. They're just going to their search bar in their browser, type in Honda Indy, goes through Google, then goes to our website. With that, though, there are people that trust StubHub or a secondary ticket reseller as the trusted source for whatever reason. We actually ourselves did a deal with StubHub and put tickets on at face value to do an experiment. And we don't do it today, but we wanted to experiment some time ago to see how the consumers purchased. Customers would pay the exact same price on StubHub than they would pay on our website just because they trusted StubHub better than our website for whatever reason. So we spent a lot of time trying to convert people over through optimization to make sure our website was the #1 leader for Honda Indy Toronto tickets and the rest of our properties.
Talk about, start with you, Matt, but talk about premium products, suites, club seats, loges. Back when they were building Anaheim, where Berkey won his Stanley Cup, it was like 150 suites was the number, and there was an arms race, and everyone's putting more and more suites in, and now everyone's taking them all out. We started with the platinum suites are going away now. I mean, it's more about club experience. Like, where's premium seating going, and if it's going away, how do we replace the revenue?
Well, I think I'm probably best suited to answer this in the lens of our business in Hamilton, and specifically, I think one advantage we have is we play 10 home games a year, right? So I think that the impact of having to fill a suite 41 times or the latter, I think that we benefit inherently from that. I also think our regional marketplace helps us. We apologize sitting here in downtown Toronto, but people that live in Burlington and Hamilton and Niagara don't want to come to Toronto. So we have opened up a great marketplace of small to medium-sized businesses who want to do the same hosting, do the same entertaining that any business in the downtown core would do. Well, they now have an option to do that locally. So since we opened the venue, we're selling, or excuse me, we're operating about 98% of capacity on our premium products. But I think those two strategic advantages are important. I'd also say that, we moved from an 84-year-old facility at Iverwin Stadium that had wood benches, and this is a true story. You couldn't put the hot dog roller and the popcorn machine on at the same time because it would blow all the fuses. So going from that environment to a $180 million brand new facility, there's this great local appetite to host in clubs and suites and be involved in that space. So there could be some attrition to that over time. It's probably still a little bit early for us now, but that's been our experience, is if we could build more premium products today, Tom, we probably would.
Jeff, you guys?
Yeah,
you have to build them every year.
So yeah, we build really to suit. We know what our needs are from an event standpoint. Corporately, our suites are very successful. They're a backbone of our event. In terms of our grandstands too. Our grandstands are our most premium sightline, and for us, we've seen a shift away from consumers buying grandstand seats. We'll see our corporate customers buy grandstand seats, buy them in the groups. Some of our most loyal customers and fans buy the grandstands, but a lot of times customers are buying general admission. And for us, that's a good alternative to have. I think, as we attract new fans to IndyCar racing and motorsport, is it a good proposition to ask that customer to spend $175 for their first time to come down to the event? Not necessarily. So, general admission helps get people in the door, but from a corporate standpoint, we're so fortunate enough to have a lot of great support and be able to adjust each year to what our needs are.
So let's talk to the arena guys. I was in Edmonton, I guess, not too long ago. Their new building is just spectacular, and I think they got about 8 different club products. Very few suites, but 8 different club products. How's your world changing there? What are you guys planning for the future from the standpoint of premium product?
I think we've seen the trend coming for a long time. Gone are the days where companies will commit to a full suite. And for us at Scotiabank Arena, it's Leafs, Raptors, and all the concerts and events. So for a lot of times, you're talking about 120 events a year. Most companies will not sign up to host 12 people for 120 plus events. So fractional sharing is something that we've been doing for a long time, where companies will buy a fractional share of a suite. But even today, that's changing, where a lot of the feedback we're getting from our customers is that they don't even want to fill that number of seats for every game. It's a big commitment. It's a lot to take on to try and fill that effectively, I think, night in, night out. So I think the one keyword you used was Loge. Loge is one product that we have just put in this year as part of the remodeling with Scotiabank Arena, along what was formerly the Air Canada Club. We have 4-person tables, or Loge suites, that we have had amazing response and feedback from. And I think, again, if you were to tour around some of the new arenas around North America, a lot of them are going to that Loge concept, where instead of 12, we're hosting 4 people, and again, even still, sometimes it's fractional shares within that. So based on the initial feedback, I think that would definitely be something we'd look to emulate around the building.
Good. Listen, we got a few minutes for questions from students, but I first want to go to Kanisha, because you're the youngest, so you guys answer this one.
Okay.
You spent the first 5 years of your career selling tickets, and now you're managing a department. Talk about the transition and what's that mean to you?
Well, I will. I'll go back to what Matt said. Is that it's the best place to start your career is in sales. So I never thought that I would be a salesperson, and I'm happy and excited to be up here as a director for a professional sports team. So I will say the toughest transition as far as building my own department is, oddly enough, especially in a room full of sports management students, is finding the talent with the tenacity to carry out in this very competitive marketplace the job. I mean, it's a great way to break into the industry, but as much as we all can probably agree that we receive a ton of applicants when we post these positions, but finding the people and with the work ethic and again the tenacity that you're going to knock on 9 doors and 9 doors are going to get slammed in your face, but you got to be able to knock on that 10th door. And it's finding the individuals who have that drive and that work ethic and that passion that is probably the hardest part, which again, to a room full of sports management students probably seems very surprising that I would say that, because you are probably all eager and excited to break into the industry. And so, again, my advice would be, take that passion, take that drive, and come into work every day and be ready to grind, because it's about hustling, especially in this not only competitive market but very competitive industry.
Good answer. Well, listen, we got time for a few questions. You've got 4 very diverse and very knowledgeable folks here, and you can answer them anything you want, anytime you want.
Tanisha's got to come out of her shell a little bit.
She's shy.
I'm just going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
John Duff, has it created confusion in the marketplace, or what sort of pushback has there been from your season's ticket holders this year that you've printed 2 prices on the Leaf and the Raptors tickets?
Yes, definitely a lot of confusion. What he's referencing is the Ticket Sales Act, which is new legislation in Ontario, which has had a lot of impact across our business. I think the key is just education. I think maybe that's where we could have done even better in being outward and why it was that way. The way that things happen so quickly in the summer with the legislation flipping over and us having deadlines to print those tickets, that's when mistakes happen, is when you're moving that quickly. But if anything, I think we've recovered, but it definitely, we could have been more outward in that communication. I think the education is the key piece there.
So for those of us who don't know, like me, what are the 2 prices?
So we have to disclose the exact amount with tax allocated and fees separate from our net revenue.
And so it has nothing to do with secondary market?
No, but you'll see the impact as well. If you go on Ticketmaster now, you'll see at the point of decision when you're looking to purchase a ticket, you have to disclose any fee, any tax. It all has to be broken out so that, I'm sure lots of people in here can relate. In the past, you maybe clicked on a ticket that you thought was $20. 2 pages later, you're suddenly asked to pay $40. That's what it was really designed to do, is to protect the consumer from hidden fees, right, hidden taxes.
The hard copy of a Leaf ticket this year has a member's price, which isn't really...
Was the variable price too, right? That was my next piece, because every ticket's different.
2 ticket prices printed on every Leaf ticket now. One says member's price and one says retail price, I think.
Correct.
And so there's 2 prices, they're broken out with taxes, but the 2 prices I think is confusing. And I have Leaf season tickets, and I have, people ask me, what's the reason for the 2 prices? What are you paying? What am I paying? Et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's always been that way, that we've had a member price, which is what you pay, that shows your discount. The retail price is the single ticket price. That's often what you would just see printed on a ticket, and I think that's where a lot of confusion was. As a member, you knew what your face value was, is the term that a lot of people would use, versus member price.
Obviously, you haven't looked at my tickets yet.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, how about a round of applause for these guys? Nice job, man.